Hello there. We're here to tell you that we have so much more to offer you now at our Mixed Tees store. Not just t-shirts and hoodies, but we do have plenty of those, and new designs for that matter. You can also get mugs, and of course our brand new limited Amber Turds stained blanket. That's right, just for your bed or wherever you need it. So head on over to Mixed Tees now and get all your apparel and goodies from Midnight's Edge.
Entertainment news today. You're such a dragon gay. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We'll stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark. But MEAD never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
Hello once again and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark Live, one of the longest running streams in our YouTube community and your favorite, whether you like it or not. We also have Nick Weiser here. How you doing? Of course, I'm Tom Connors. I didn't say that. Not that I need an introduction, because this isn't my channel. But hey, Nick.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Yeah, looks like it's a bit of a slow news
everybody.
day, but there's a significant one thing that's happening, and we're total normies to the subject, but we'll make good with what we have on it. Hail to our chat and to our wonderful wrenches, and of course to our fellow dudes on the panel, Tom and Price of Reason.
That's right. How you doing, Price?
I'm doing great, Tom.
Diabolical, even?
Diabolical and huge. Today's Toxic Tuesday. I don't even know what were you watching today, Nick?
Hero Jet Li.
We're watching Hero with Jet Li. I'm doing good, man.
Glad to hear it. So yes, Jet Li's Hero is the movie that's on tonight. Did you not think of doing Unleashed at all? Because that's like one of the only Jet Li movies I know.
Well, actually, I have everything now mapped up for a full month of Jet Li, and that will be one of the movies on that.
Well, that'll probably be the episode I'm on then, because I'm not up to my Jet Li speed on a lot of things. I've seen Lethal Weapon 4.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen Unleashed. I've seen, I don't know, maybe one or two of his other films, but
yeah,
I don't know. For some reason, I just missed out on all his.
Well, don't worry, because films. You'll be back in 2 weeks when we talk Rush Hour 1 and Rush Hour 2.
And how did you not cross over initially with War, considering Jason Statham and him are in that, aren't they?
Because when we transitioned, we are slowly transitioning into Jet Li for a few weeks. And Jet Li was a smooth transition considering we did The One last week, which actually has Jason Statham in a very prominent role. So that was actually the first time they actually did a collaboration, because that's one of 5 collaborations. And how was it? They did that one, then they did War a few years later, and then the Expendables 1, 2, and 3.
See, I didn't know he was in one because I've never seen it. The one I know of is Highlander. There can be a ring.
Oh, Highland. Oh.
All right. So, yeah, we got some news to discuss. Why is. Okay. Evidently, we're not streaming to the main Twitter. Oh, well. Anyhow.
Well, I guess we're exclusive to the tube.
Well, we're on the MEAD Twitter, but I don't know. The main Twitter account just is a pain in the ass all the time. But yeah, evidently, the big news of the day is the media gets to run with some TDS by claiming that China is mulling a ban on American films. And if not, they're going to only let a few in every year. So basically, it's like they already are.
Right. They haven't been cooperative for a long time now. Almost every movie you see that, like, it made like $5 in China. So,
well, in fact, as we kind of tell people, you're lucky if you see like a few cents on the dollar in some cases. In fact, Alan Ng just shared this here a little bit ago. That kind of gives you an idea of how much money they really bring in from China. Like Inside Out 2 only made 3% of its box office from China.
Oh, wow. I knew the
Logan,
numbers had gone down in China, but I didn't know it went down that much. Of course, I'm not surprised.
In fact, they kept the money from Sonic and the Hedgehog 3, it looks like.
I'm not surprised Godzilla vs. Kong is the best performing one. If anyone's going to make some more money, that's the one that they would. I definitely see that happening. But geez, I didn't know the numbers really went down in China. That's crazy, man.
No, they keep a big portion of the box office.
You know, I'm glad that this is happening in this China as far as this goes. Like, my knowledge on tariffs for all the grounds I talk about in politics, one of the few things I never really looked into in my life is the history on tariffs, because I feel like the biggest problem with looking into history is you're not getting a lot of stories on what it is, but how people feel about it, and did it work based on how they felt about it, or didn't work on how they felt about it. So it's really hard to get a really right in the middle, story on it. So that all said, going off what we have now with China, I'm glad, because it pisses me off that for a long time, Hollywood, America was bending over what China wanted for their movies. China got for American movies. I mean, I will remember the first straw that started with the Ancient One and the first Doctor Strange. And I have no, animosity towards.
Oh, there was other stuff.
And I know,
there was a whole thing.
There's probably more. That was when I started paying attention, I guess.
I want to say like Iron Man 2 is one of the earlier ones, and one of the other earlier Transformer films, because at that point they were literally filming scenes specifically just for the Chinese market so they could try and get in. Because that's the thing is, yes, they've allowed movies over there, but they're very selective. They only allow a certain amount of films each year, and they won't allow specific things. And to guarantee that the studios could get in, they would either do some partnership with a Chinese company, which would basically guarantee they would get get in, or they would do this like pandering to the Chinese audience by doing these specific scenes. Was it Iron Man 3? Okay, I was gonna say it was either Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, where they have an entire character or whatever that's not even in the film. Like in our version anyway, they're only in like the Chinese version. Anyhow, like, so this is something they were doing for years to pander to them, until they started to realize that, guess what? They weren't seeing much of a return on these films.
Yeah.
And some of these movies could do very well in China, but when they're only seeing 10, 15 cents on the dollar in most cases, and that's being generous, then what is it worth for Hollywood to pander to them?
No, it was never worth. I just remember thinking it was worth not even doing to begin with. I'm thinking, why does it matter how they feel about these things? Like, what happened to this is our product, take it or leave it? It just boggles my mind. This is before, I guess you could say, I quote unquote became a lot more red pilled. But to me, it just seemed really silly that we were worried about how another country felt about their movies. And I'm thinking, okay, if we really want to work with China, make something else and make that thing the thing that you work with, rather than change something else just to accommodate to them. But of course, as always, it's always got to be about the easy way out, the path of least resistance, the one that it's the safest. So And of course, you can't forget Rogue One. They added Donnie Yen's character strictly because they were hoping that Star Wars never did well in China, and they're thinking,
It
well,
never
maybe if
really
we put
caught
in a
on,
Chinese
no.
character, that will get it going. And clearly, that was of no use because hey, I love Donnie Yen. I think he's fantastic, but obviously that did not translate into China. Then we can't forget they did the posters of Black Panther. Who's that one guy in the Star Wars sequel trilogy that who's now become a big
John
whiny?
Boyega.
Oh, John Boyega, the new Kryborg, the new Kryborg. So we'll call him New Kryborg for reference here. New Kryborg was crying because it's over there. I'm like, bro, we're the ones who were sticking up for your sorry ass. And meanwhile, China freaking minimized you on their poster. If you want to talk about actual isms, maybe you should go have a word with China. China, bro.
Well,
okay, Kryborg, new Kryborg.
Maybe we shouldn't carry any of their films.
Yeah, I'm down for that. No one talks about 900% of their, sorry, not 900, 90% of the movies under Sons, movies like Hero, should be talking tonight. But that was 20 years ago. Better times.
All the movies for China also, you could tell that they started dumbing down things, like they're thinking that they'll do something that will interest them or do weird things, and those things never worked. And the dumbest thing with Kathleen Kennedy and Disney and Star Wars was The Last Jedi. One of the reasons I believe there was suddenly what they called a quote-unquote fourth lead actress in the movie, which was Kelly Marie Tran, was because The Force Awakens made almost no money in China, or maybe even in Asia in general, but especially in China, and nobody cares about Star Wars there. So they thought to themselves, hey, why don't we just throw in an Asian character here and say she's also a lead character and it'll be great. And the thing is that they could have still introduced an Asian actor into the fold, but they did it in such a stupid way and such a dumb they did it in a dumb way. The other thing is that I don't claim to be an expert on this, but Kelly Marie Tran is Korean and she's not Chinese. I'm sure that Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger think that all Asian people are the same, but actually in Asia that it doesn't really work that way. And what they thought would be an ace in the hole with Kelly Marie Tran ended up not. The movie did even worse than The Force Awakens there. So that didn't help them at all.
Well,
and the final thing I'll tell you is that in China, when they see an actor like Jackie Chan or Donnie Yen or do something that's like in English with a bunch of like Westerners, that to them, like, they look down upon that. That's the type of movie they're skipping. They say to themselves, like, behind closed doors, or at least in a language that I don't understand, they say to themselves, oh, he's collecting a check here. That's fine. He's like taking money from the Americans. We don't have to see this movie. And that's why all those Rush Hour with Jackie Chan, not a hit in China. But go on.
For some reason, I think that Karate Kid, which is kind of funny that the new one, is a sequel to the Jackie Chan one. I feel like a lot of the stuff in that film was to appease the Chinese audience too, for some reason.
And it didn't work. They don't want to. They don't want to watch.
It actually made money, but it's not the point. It's like,
very little. Generally speaking, it's like, imagine
I don't know how much it made there, but
we're Americans, and then let's say Bradley Cooper goes and does an international production, okay, and he's making a movie in Asia, and let's say, for the sake of argument, he can speak Chinese, so the whole movie is in Chinese. He's speaking Chinese. Everybody's speaking to him Chinese, and when we see the movie here, all the actors are dubbed, including Bradley Cooper, who has like a dub of English over him speaking Chinese. So people here would look at that and say, man, that's stupid. I don't want to watch that. And that's the feeling that like people have in China when they see like Jackie Chan speaking in English, and then like his mouth is moving, saying one thing, and then somebody is like overdubbing him. They just don't like that stuff, and I can sort of understand why. So Hollywood is just stupid. They're ignorant and dumb, and like all this diversity and inclusion never worked because they were always stupid and they never knew anything about it. They're like the opposite of diverse and inclusive, and it was all like a sham anyways. And this thing of pandering to China was never going to work.
Well, and of course, the communism ideals did work for the woke factor, but the rest of the stuff, not so much. Because as you guys pointed out, like even John Boyega got, minimized
Yeah,
in the
But
Star Wars poster.
the communism didn't work for them either. The more they
And
tried,
Black Panther and all that business, like China was more than happy to pander to the Chinese audience in that respect, which is racist
the
as fuck.
more they shoved in, like in Ant-Man 3, when they said that he loves communism, did it make people in China want to go see that movie? No,
I don't know. But
no, it didn't.
you know, in this, just to kind of get the tariff part of it out of the way, because this says here like Beijing is spiraling, you know, they're thinking about matching the tariffs. Well, here's the thing that I don't understand, because I'm not going to pretend that I know a bunch about tariffs and stuff. But my whole understanding about this thing with Trump and the tariffs is that he is already matching the tariffs they have on us, isn't he? Like, that's the whole point of this, is he's like, no more free rides. Like, if you're going to tariff the hell out of us, we're going to tariff the hell out of you. So that's my understanding. Now he's been negotiating, and a few people have come to the table already in their talks. Like I said, you said Argentina, I think, and a few other ones have, you know, expressed, you know, more interest in negotiations and working this out. But the whole idea of this isn't to punish the U.S. It's to get it's actually to punish. This is what I don't get about the wokey wokes going after this thing, because it's actually to punish the multi-billionaire fucking businessmen who've been outsourcing all their business outside the U.S. for the past, you know, decade or two. Right?
Yep.
Like, that's what this is really about. So the whole idea is, okay, you don't want to pay these tariffs? Well, then quit exporting all your work and build a factory here like you used to have, or reopen your old factory. Right?
Wow.
And we don't want to hear the excuse anymore that Americans don't want to work when a bunch of us are out of fucking work.
So, assuming what you're saying, no, is true, Tom,
That's my
we
understanding
literally
of it.
went out of our way to say, hey, here's how we're actually going to make sure we don't have the billionaires and gazillionaires have so much power, and people are still mad. So it was never about the gazillionaires and the billionaires. It was just about who is going to do it. Once again, just more of the stupid sports team mentality. For once, someone actually does something about that. Say, hey, if you want to build one of these companies and pay people, you can pay it to American people rather than your cheap slave workers in China. Go figure. Oh, I tell you, people make me angry with this
Well,
shit.
I'm not going to pretend that I know a bunch about this, but yeah, actually, Max Mercer is right. 104% is what they
Yes.
are actually.
That I heard about. Trump said that's effective as of the afternoon.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're actually going after more even. Right. And let's not even mince words here. Like, let's talk about the Hollywood aspect. I guarantee you there's not any Chinese films that are not allowed in the U.S. I don't think I've ever heard of one being banned here. But there is not a year that goes by where because they only allow, I think, 12 movies a year from the U.S. and China.
Right.
And that's what I was saying before, why they've been able to get past that in past years by making deals and and letting these Chinese companies come in and be producers on these movies and own part of these movies. So then they don't count as an American film. They're technically a Chinese American production. So they bypass that whole deal, is my understanding. But the thing is, they're acting like this is new, when this is nothing new. This is what they've been doing for years. And it's really a lot of TDS in the air is what it feels like to me. Now, again, I don't know all this stuff about tariffs. I'm not saying that the tariffs are the answer, right? But we talked a little bit about the show before the show. And it's like, obviously, Trump's next move has to be like, okay, if you're going to put these tariffs into place, then you have to start making it an incentive for the American businesses to start rebuilding back in America, right? So that's the next step. But where does that help with Hollywood and China? I don't know, right? Like, that's a whole nother fucking animal.
Hollywood and China is not that significant, and you know, in this whole.
And I think that's the bigger thing that needs to be. You're right, Price. Not to interrupt, but I think you're right, because like when we're only getting 3 to 10% of the box office of what they get in, yeah. Why are we even arguing about this?
Especially in recent years, it just feels like if there was ever a time that China was more like showing those MCU movies, those earlier ones, and there was money to be made there. Now it really just doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels that like so little money is made from that market that this whole article is just a bunch of nothing. But what I will say with the tariffs, I think that what Trump is doing, this is my personal opinion, it's very bold. And I can only hope that it'll work out well. It's certainly like, you know, it's certainly outside the box type of thinking of all these policies that have been in place for many years have not been good for the US, and nobody did anything about it. And he just overnight, it's almost like when somebody walks into the room, takes like the table and like flips it over, and like everything flies in the air. He's basically coming in and he's saying like, I've had enough of this shit. You know what I mean? Like everybody that like puts a tax on, like taxes on us, tariffs on us, we're going to do it to them the same way. We don't give a shit about anything. And if you don't want those tariffs, well, you can call me. You know my number. I think he's also doing it because he wants Jerome Powell of the Fed to lower interest rates, even shaking up the market and causing this kind of pressure, hoping that that'll pressure Powell to lower their interest rates. Because that Powell guy, it's not easy to fire the Fed guy. And I think Trump doesn't like him and just really wants to see interest rates lower. So that's a part of his plan that's kind of not being spoken about. And I also think that this isn't something that'll last forever. I think that Trump, you know, he may be doing this whole show now that he's upset and he's putting all these tariffs, but I don't necessarily think that he plans on putting these tariffs on these places forever. He really is genuinely hoping that all these countries will make deals with him. And it's enough that every country, even now that's taking money from the US, that's like has its own tariffs, renegotiates and does something better for the US, well, then it's already a better situation for the US. And that's probably what Trump and his advisors are saying to themselves. If we can at least make it better for us in some way, it's already something. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a risky play. It's not an easy play to do. And obviously all these kind of Hollywood Reporter and all the other left whatever, they're going to do all their TDS stuff. But time will tell. I think within the next few months, we'll know if this was like a stroke of genius or maybe the opposite. But as of now, I can only hope that it'll work out well. And that's I can only hope for the best.
I agree on that, Price. I want this to work, whatever it is that is about tariffs, because I'm like you, I'm very much a normie on this. My detailed knowledge on this is very surface level. I know very, very basic. It's like I'm at like first grade level with this stuff. But I do see from the outside that, yeah, this is a very ambitious thing. Now, do I blame him for doing this? No. Do I hope that it works? Yes. I do hope that whether it does work, because I know this is never going to happen from let's just say the people in these offices, but I'm hoping us, the regular people, right, left, center, if it works, we got to just sack up whether we are for or against the Don. So, you know what? I'm not crazy about this guy, but that worked out. It would be nice for us to have that humility, and if it didn't, well, I'll have no problem saying it. And I'm sure some guys who I know who did will have no issue saying that didn't work out either. I would just like for people to look back and see this for what it is and stop basing this on who they like and who they don't like. So I'm hoping we can come to that. I want this to work, and I'm glad Trump is at least giving this a shot. I'm not knocking on the idea of trying, because we have constantly been stagnant as a country, politically, economically, socially. We're kind of like in this weird like teenage phase where we won't stop being a teenager. And now it's like, oh, we're getting our big boy pants on and really making our presence notice in the room that, hey, now we're being the adults and we're trying to make sure that we're in charge of shit. And that's good. We need a big change, because I keep hearing about change from both sides of the aisle for years on end, and really they give you at best the illusion of change. What he's doing is an actual change, not this like superficial thing that presents itself as change, but then once you give it a few weeks, a few months, nothing ultimately changes. This is a big thing. So I'm hoping we get a lot of good out of this. And if it means having a rough patch, I'm absolutely up for a rough patch if it means we are in a much better place in the long haul. Because that's another thing. We're way too reactive. We're way too, like, as soon as we see something we don't think, we just react. We don't think to what's it called? We don't think to understand about these things. We simply think to just respond to it, whether we're instinctively for it or against it. I'm hoping people can look at this, understand it, and think it over, and, well, maybe think, oh, okay, this worked out. Oh, well, this didn't work out. Time to try something else.
I want to respond. Somebody here in the chat, SXHBK, says Trump hired Powell, though, Price. He did hire him. And much like with, let's say, Amy Comey Barrett, I think that Powell is one of
can't
those
stand
hires
her.
that Trump probably, wakes up in the middle of the night annoyed that he hired him, because I think that he expected,
She's
for him to be more like, if you in lockstep with what he was trying to do. And Powell doesn't care about anything. He always, somebody says
He
that he
won't
tries
last
to.
long then.
What'd you say?
He won't last long then.
I
Trump
mean, the
is
thing is that it's
gonna
sort of a
fire him if that's the case.
Trump
Yeah,
can't
sorry.
fire. I think that when Trump arrived, he fired a few people around him. Meaning, Trump did some muscle moves when he arrived to try to scare Powell. But until now, whatever tactics he used didn't seem to work. And some people thought that he was trying to crash the economy in order to put Powell in an impossible situation. I don't know if that's true, but certainly in the back of his mind, even if you look at Trump's either posts or his Truth Social or whatever it is, he's been talking about the Fed for the past few days, about the interest rate. So it is on his mind for sure. And I guess what else was I going to say that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to just derail you.
No, you didn't cut me off. I'm just trying to. I was going to say something and I almost forgot. But I think that the bottom line is that he is doing something that he thinks will benefit America. And generally speaking, I agree with the spirit of what he's doing. But like I said, now everybody's freaking out. The question is, what will happen within the next month, within the next 2 months? There was also somebody today on the news, one of Trump's, I can't remember his name, one of his people, one of his advisors or whatever it was, that was, if I read between the lines of what this guy was saying, it almost seems like everybody understands that this thing isn't going to be able to happen forever, these tariffs. I think Trump is launching his offensive now, and he's just hoping that more and more countries just quickly close deals with him. I feel like that's what he wants, and he really hopes that. And countries that don't want any kind of hiccup with their import, export, and all that shit will make some kind of deal with him. Even his press secretary today said, "Well, we're here. They know where to reach him. We can do deals." So that seems to be the narrative that I understand. But obviously, you'll have all those weird Schumers and whatever who cry about every single thing. So it's really hard between all the politics and the people involved. Sometimes it's hard to really cut through all the crap. But it is what it is.
Also, with us getting these tariffs going now within the first few months, it's good if we're going to have a rough patch, or let's pretend it's an even extensive rough patch, just for the sake of conversation. Hopefully, once we get through that, we can be in a better place, because things are definitely we're going to feel some hurt from this, no matter what, whether the deals go good or not. We're going to get, at the very minimum, some temporary hurt, and hopefully that weather's over. I want it to blow over, and hopefully then, before you know it, we'll be in a better spot than before. I saw someone mention a comment that we're gonna be paying a price for it. Yeah, that's true. No one should disagree with that statement. I would say that's a fact, but that's fine. If we need to go through that to get to another spot, I'm good with that. I'm very good with that. Yeah, it's gonna hurt, but that's what kind of brings it back to my earlier comment about learning to have more patience and stop being so reactionary, and learn to understand things and stop just hating everything right out the bat just to have a reaction. We need to think and understand, not just think and reply. So this is a good place to start, guys. This is a good place where we can learn how to apply this little life lesson. So I'm fine with it. I'm good with it. Yeah, I'm sure I might have a complaint or two during it. But boy, if imagine year 3 or year 4, we're smooth sailing, good, because it would be dumb to start this after, let's just say, the midterms. Why are you doing this now? You're on the way out. We're never going to know the fruits of your labor to whether this worked or not. He needs to start this right away. It would be dumb for him to wait on this. He needs to do it so that way, in case this does work,
well, I think that's
it's gonna look really good on the way out.
Well, we have another.
Sorry,
we have another person joining us who may or may not know a thing or two about tariffs. Just to help us out here, Red shirt, how you doing? Or just another red shirt, I should say.
Hey, Tom. Yeah, well, yeah,
Hey.
it's been a long time since I took macroeconomics, but it really comes down to this. And I mean, none of the reports on these things have mentioned the fact that almost all other countries that we trade with have tariffs on our goods. They don't want to mention that. And I said in the chat earlier before I started trying to connect up, I said, this is haggling 101. You asked for 20, you settled for 10. I'm thinking Monty Python's Life of Brian. Don't you want to haggle? And no, they don't want to haggle. They just want to set their tariffs and have us just send them stuff. That's apparently not going to be the case. And the other article I read, I don't think it was from this particular Access Media outlet, was that it looked at like the last 4 major Hollywood movies and what percentage of their box office came from China, and it wasn't big. And of
Yeah, I
course, we
showed that
also
on screen here. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know if you saw it or not, but yeah.
yeah, I may have been getting something else done, but yeah, and of course, you know, the other one that doesn't get reported, strangely enough, is because I listen to Odin of O&B Reviews, and he is a box office numbers guru. The lowest percentage of the box office going to the distributors and the studios is from China. Most places will get, you know, will give back 50% or close to the box office to the movie makers. Not China. No. So
No,
the
we covered
thing is,
that.
they're making a mountain out of a molehill because they can. And you know, I immediately thought of Monty Python's Life of Brian. I put it in the chat. You know, China can, you know, if China announces that they're going to ban Hollywood movies, and there was much rejoicing. Kind of like
Well,
when
I
they ate
mean,
Robin's minstrels.
I mean, really, it's like
Yay!
at this point they don't really show a lot of them. So no, we talked about a lot of that stuff, and so yeah, so it kind of sounds like a lot of what we were saying was somewhat in line. And again,
Yes.
I'm not so sure that this is going to be as big of a deal as they're trying to make it out to be. We were kind of leading into this saying this sounds more like trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, grabbing onto some TDS and running with it. Because really, this is real. Like I said, this is already what they do. Unless they do a flat out ban, which would be
Yeah.
I mean, even then, it's like, oh, so 12 movies won't get released there this year. Nuts. You know, like, and I don't even know how. I mean, even though it did like recently, Minecraft did very well this weekend there, I guess, but I don't even know how much of that Warner Brothers and Legendary will even see. So
20% maybe.
if they're lucky, maybe. Unless
Yeah.
Legendary connected with China at all? That I don't know.
It doesn't matter whether you're connected. You know, the government is making the decision there. It's essentially
Right.
taxes. I mean, what you don't get in box office in China, according to Odin, is basically going straight to the Chinese government. So it's
Yeah, that
you
we
could
do.
say that
Yeah.
you could say that the Chinese government levies an 80% tax on box office revenues, and
And I was thinking
it's
Willie.
yeah. So
When
I
I
mean,
just brought
I
this up.
go ahead.
No, sorry, I was
Legendary.
just saying, I brought
Legendary
this-
is connected. Yeah.
because this is what I was saying before, is a lot of these, because they already limited us what movies they would bring in. So this is where Hollywood was getting in bed with a bunch of Chinese companies so that their movies would count as Chinese American co-productions, so they could bypass the whole, oh, you need to get a pass from the Chinese government deal. Not that they see any more money from them or anything, but
That I think is
like,
the main point. Yes.
yeah,
You might get more films released, but you're not going to get any more. I don't think you're going to get any more out of them. Yeah.
I don't know if Legendary benefits at all from that. That I guess was my question, really. But
yeah, I don't know what benefit they're getting. To be
the
honest,
CCP
I really don't.
probably gets 50% of that anyway. So yeah, so
Oh.
it's like, oh yeah, here's what you got left. By the way, we're taking half of this.
Well, AMC
So
does. AMC gets half of the box office. Never mind the CCP. AMC theaters will get 50%.
in the U.S.,
It's
unless they're
Good
in
for
the
them. Good
U.S.
for them. Yeah, they should
Yeah, I'm
get
just
money.
saying that. Yeah, I'm just
well,
saying
that's
that
the way it
there's
should work, because it
Right.
used to be worse actually. But
Yes.
no,
But
like
yeah,
in this
it's
case, yeah, we're talking a small percentage comes from China is the point. Yeah.
exactly.
China.
I mean, yes, it at first glance, it's a huge market. It looks like, oh man, we could make a whole lot of money. Then, you start to look at the actual returns, the actual numbers of people going to see your movies in China. It's not, you know, it's not the same thing as having a billion plus person audience, and any more than India. I mean, why doesn't Hollywood send its movies to India? It probably does, but India has its own movie industry.
See, now I'm looking at this, it kind of makes sense as why now Godzilla versus Kong is 8% and Dune is probably 3%, because I believe Legendary is more in on Godzilla versus Kong as opposed to Dune, right? Like, I think
Right.
they're like a bigger share of that, because like now with Minecraft, Legendary only paid in 25%. So they only have 25% in. Warner Brothers
Right.
has the other 75. So like that, I think does matter as well as far as the percentage right there. That's why I think they may have gotten to keep a little bit more. But like I said, I think it's more like you were just saying, where like, yeah, they hand them a check and say, yeah, here's your profit, but we kept half of it for taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
So they taxed them again on top of it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not that the U.S. doesn't really do that to you too if you're not careful. So yeah.
Oh God, yeah, we certainly will. But I'm just to put it in perspective. Yes, the on average, a studio gets 50% of the box office, and the Axis media loves to forget that when they tell you, oh, it's brought in $300 million at the box office with $150 million budget. It's like, yeah, that means it broke even. Not quite, because it still had to pay for the marketing.
So like looking at
The math is hard is the lesson to learn when you're reading about box office numbers.
I was gonna say, so let's give, since Dune Part 2 is probably similar, let's give that one a similar thing. So 3% of the $30 million that Minecraft made this last weekend is going to Warner Brothers. How much of 3% of 30 million is what? Not $1 million?
So it's about $1 million.
I was gonna say, so they made a whole $1 million off that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is very much a tempest in a teapot, and they're just trying to gin this up for their own purposes. They know damn well that China as a market for profitability for Hollywood has never been there. But now we can bash somebody we don't like, which is, as far as I'm concerned, what all these articles are for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, well, I mean, I'm in agreement with all of you guys. I mean, you saw me in the chat. I was basically saying the same stuff you were,
and it sounded like you kind of knew what you were saying. So like I thought maybe you know what you're talking about here. But anyhow,
yeah, well, I to a certain extent I do. Having been around and listened to more people who are more informed than I am over the years. But yeah, this isn't about China being upset about tariffs. This is about Hollywood and the media that supports Hollywood being upset about tariffs.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yep.
Like a lot of the other stuff I've seen.
Yep. It doesn't matter what is done, as long as the guy that they don't like is doing it, it will be automatically bad. And if they truly think in their own head that it's good, they ain't gonna have the sack to say it out loud, because they're already invested in what they say, and they can't say anything that derails from what they say.
Right. And Hollywood's got much bigger problems than China boycotting them. That's for damn sure.
Oh God, yeah.
By the way, if I'm not mistaken, there were certain tariffs that Trump did last time when he was president, and the media they loved making all the jokes. He's so stupid he doesn't understand what tariffs are. He's such an idiot. That's what they kept saying over and over again. And then when Biden got into office, he actually didn't cancel the things that Trump did. Meaning the things that they all laughed at him and said were really stupid. They were like they didn't change them at all. So how maybe they weren't that stupid? You know what I mean?
Yeah, if it was so bad,
Yeah.
they would have done something about it because think of it. Anything that they had an issue with Trump, Biden did executive orders on many of those things on his first day in the White House, but yet those stayed in place.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that this idea that he's stupid and he doesn't understand what he's saying about tariffs is dumb. I knew it was like a sham because even in his first term, you had like Stephen Colbert weeping all day about those tariffs, and when you see Stephen Colbert weeping about anything, you know that there's something fishy going on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm really taking with a grain of salt all this stuff, but just giving my own impression. I do think that this is something that if I were Trump, I wouldn't do this for 70 years. Meaning, I'm hoping that he's kind of taking a page out of Ronald Reagan's playbook. First year, even if the economy goes down a bit or even takes a hit, he's doing it for like something in the bigger picture. And hopefully, I don't think that this is something he can do forever. I think that this quarter he needs to reach as many deals as he can with countries and get everybody back on track. And I really hope he will.
I think he's sincerely doing this, or at least he's going at this in a way of treating America like a business and us, the American people, as the shareholders. I really think that's kind of how
I like that. If that's the case,
I agree with that.
I like the sound of that, Tom. That could be the case. That does line up.
That approach seems to be what he's taken so far with everything, and I don't have an issue with that either because that's the way it kind of should be.
A lot of people tend to forget too when you start getting.
He works for us. Yes. He knows that.
When you get things made right off the bat, things are by default more expensive because it's not being mass produced. And when you start to sell things and move through enough product, then the prices will adjust to that, to accommodate for that, because they can afford to have those price decreases. Those are the things that come with the territory that anyone who runs, businesses can tell you that. You'll see the prices fluctuate when they know they can get away with bringing prices down things. So, yeah, that's another thing that we can add to this about when prices, should they go down, that's why they do, is because the situation is the market's correcting itself, which the market does tend to do a lot.
And this is where we need to learn as consumers and people that are supporters of these businesses and practices to learn to say no or reject certain things, because they are going to try and pass the buck on to us, right? So instead of actually doing what they should do, because they'll always do that. Like I always say about Hollywood too, they'll never do anything for cheaper. They'll just find another way to make you or somebody else pay for it, right? It's the same thing with these businesses, right? They're going to try and say, oh, well, it's Trump's fault that it costs you fucking $50 to buy a watermelon this month.
Yeah, but if
they're going to try and pull that shit.
Yeah, they will try and pull that.
Leverage. But there's no emotional blackmail they won't use on you to try to guilt you into.
I should have used something that was manufactured, actually. So they'll be like, okay, so it's gonna cost you $50 more to buy a Tiddlywink now, right? It's like, well, if you started making Tiddlywinks in the U.S., I would only have to pay maybe 10 or 20% more than I used to pay, and I think that's a good compromise to give a bunch of people a job.
Yeah,
and have something that's American
made.
Compromise.
Yeah, Cleanup just said it in the chat. You want cheap products or do you want good jobs? The point of tariffs is
jobs.
The point of tariffs is at least for now, until we find out he wants to fund the whole government with them, which we don't know yet. And it's been done, by the way. A YouTuber that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with keeps on flaming people on Twitter with, Thomas Jefferson funded the entire U.S. government for years on nothing but tariffs. There were no internal taxes at all, and it worked. But yes, it's a means to an end. I think it's a means to an end. It's incentivizing companies to bring manufacturing back to the United States rather than outsourcing it, offshoring it elsewhere.
Well,
And
and
if
here's a
it
good
works for
example.
that, that's good. That's good.
Because Mixed Tees, the guys that we use for our t-shirts, are actually YouTubers themselves. They're Brian and his brother over at the Popcast. And they talk about how it's hard to compete with all these outsourced companies. But I can tell you right now, the quality and the amount of, that they put into it compared to what you get from like some of these Chinese companies or other places, I've never had one of their shirts fade or have problems with it. And if it does, I'll tell them. And I mean, I've had other people have an issue once or twice, and I've just told them, just get a hold of them and they'll take care of it. And they did. Right. So
Yeah.
like compared to like stuff that I've got from like, I'm not going to name any names, but other cheaper, let's say t-shirt outlets, to where after 2-3 washes, the sons of bitches the picture's already coming off. And like, I got a Ninja Turtle shirt. You can't even see their faces anymore and shit. Like,
I hate it when that happens.
yeah. And it bothered me because it was a design I was looking for a long time. And I took a chance because I'm like, oh, it's one of those reprint places. So it's not even probably a legit licensed thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was like, fuck it. I want that shirt.
Yeah. Well, no, that's something even Top Gear mentioned when they did the show in China, was that the Chinese don't tend to respect IP or copyrights or any of those things. So you have to be really careful. They'll do a knockoff of anything they think they can get away with.
If anyone ever wants to say the Don's compromised by China, has got egg on their face now. Big time, by the way. Big time egg on their face.
It's Russia, Russia, Russia. Anyway, this was put up. Daryl says this because, Price, by the way, if we get enough super chats, you're going to tell us whether or not you're actually black. But Daryl says, stop it, Tom. You know he's orange. So
I don't know if he's orange, but I do know one thing about Price.
He is orange.
His balls are huge.
He's the only other orange man that I know besides Trump.
Ooh.
Dark King says, so the CCP is threatening to take 100% of the box office instead of just 95%. I'm sure Hollywood will complain, but who cares? Right, exactly. Like, it's a really big, big fucking fuss over nothing. Jason Webster says, Chinese Wanda Group sold Legendary Entertainment to Apollo Global Media, Inc., an American asset management firm last year. Oh, okay. Well, see, Jason, you know why this probably happened is because a lot of these companies were pulling out of China already before Trump was president. Why? Because they weren't making any fucking money. They were bending over backwards for them and they weren't making any money. Yeah, so that was one of the reasons I remember. Pilgrim Media says the chairman of the board, the art of the deal. Yeah, hopefully. Ike Cthulhu says clothing and stuff coming from Asia, any costs a couple dollars each increased by 100% has nearly zero impact. This is political. Only durable goods matter. That's true too, right? That's another thing. So like my watermelon was a bad example. That's why I changed it. We did get a trailer for animated what do you call it? Predator. I haven't watched it yet. Should we watch it? Disney's usually
whatever
about it. Let's check it out. I haven't even watched the last Predator movie yet. This wasn't even on the agenda.
Are you talking about the Prey one or which one?
Yeah.
I saw that one.
I heard it was all right.
That's how I feel about it. It was dumb in a few aspects, especially that there's some little girl fighting a predator. That was really dumb. But it wasn't as bad as the trailer would suggest, meaning I ended up watching it and I didn't completely hate it, but it wasn't fantastic. It's not as good as Predator 1 or 2. Maybe that it would be the third best Predator, but really like one is the best, then 2 is pretty good, and 3 is like just okay. Like not 3, I mean Prey is just okay. And the other ones I think were pretty bad.
Yeah. Here's my issue with that. This is why I didn't even watch it, is because there may be an explanation for it in the movie, don't get me wrong, but I find it very I find it very out of character for the Predator to go after humans when they're not equipped in any way. Because like my understanding, or at least the way I look at it, is the Predator started showing up and using humans as hunting humans once we became formidable prey. right? Like it didn't have any time of day
Yes.
or need to come after us until we started having automatic weapons and on the verge of basically when we invented nuclear wars. Basically, I bet when they now I would love to see a Predator movie like in a World War II setting or something like that, right? Or post-war war, you know what I mean? Or a Vietnam setting, which is kind of what we got with the first film, right? Because that makes more sense. But you putting a Predator up against a Native American way back when all they got is like barely got knives and bow and arrow to fight with.
And
A
it's a little
Predator doesn't
girl.
even-
It's not
Yeah,
even
a Predator is just gonna demolish them. What the fuck?
it's not even like their biggest Native American person, like some, some like big dude with muscles. It's some little girl. That's what made that movie really dumb. Somehow, though, I didn't hate the little girl, like the actress, and there was a few things there that I didn't mind. I can't explain. Like it was a movie that on paper I should have hated, and it certainly had its like girl boss agenda and whatever. But there was something about it that like I couldn't fully hate on it, even though I can't say that I loved it.
Price, that's interesting you mentioned that because I remember we're hearing people giving Mahler crap because apparently Mahler didn't completely hate Prey. And I was like, Mahler did not hate the movie. And I think Critical Drinker even said it was decent. And then I'm hearing you say, I'm like, whoa, I'm sensing a pattern here. It may have not been a bad movie. I'm even shocked that is even like.
It's not a great movie. It's not that like I've never watched it again since
Shane Black Predator.
What'd you say?
Was it better than the Shane Black Predator movie?
Yeah, I think that it was like horrible. The third best Predator movie. But again, whatever is not
Predators, the one with Adrian Brody was okay. What I liked about that one is they actually had like killers dropped on the planet.
I remember not really liking that one. Maybe that one can compete with Prey. Maybe. I already am confused. There was Predator, the Predator, Predators.
I know, right?
Like that is something I will not argue with because
and most of those ones
you gotta get creative with titles.
I guess the one with Adrian Brody, they were like on a planet. They were put on a planet with
That's
them.
What I'm saying.
Like
yeah. And they're all like
that was
themselves,
almost tolerable. Maybe it could go toe to toe with the Prey one. I think that Prey was a little more comprehensive than the one that they're on the planet, but neither of those are as good as 2, and 2 isn't as good as 1. So for me, really, 1 is a really good movie. 2 is a pretty good movie, and then like I have like a line, and anything under that line is significantly less good, and it's just varying degrees of maybe possibly watchable and kind of okay. Maybe you could say that about Predators, and maybe you can say that about Prey. I don't know the names. I can't understand which one is the Predators or Predator, whatever the fuck those other ones are.
The Predator is the more recent one from Shane Black.
That one is the shittiest one.
Plural. Is the one on the planet with the killers. And all
the one on the planet is better than the Shane Black one. The Shane Black one is the worst one, the one with the autistic boy. That is a dumb fucking movie, and that is absolutely the worst one. I don't necessarily think that I enjoyed Predators a lot more than that, but, it was better than Predator. The Predator, whatever the fuck, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. All right, well, so let's look at this thing.
I saw it.
Again, and they said in the chat that it's established in Predator 2, I guess, that they've been showing up since the 1700s. But I still just don't see why the Predator would give a shit about us until we're actually able to kill one. Right? Like, it's kind of like hunting sheep.
The Predator, the original movie, is basically the most dangerous game told from the point of view of an alien.
Yeah. Right. It's giving itself a challenge, right? Like it's
right.
And that's kind of the whole thing with I can understand the Alien too, right? Like that's a good challenge. Like that's somebody going lion hunting, right?
Right.
It makes sense.
That would be like me in Central Texas. That would be like me in Central Texas decided to go hunt cows.
That's what I said, like hunting sheep. Yeah. Like
yes, hunting sheep, hunting cows, it's stupid. Yes, it is.
All right. Anyway, I get it. Some people think it's cool, but I don't know. I don't know.
now. It's time I
If it wasn't,
tell you.
Why
wouldn't
does it
look so
sound
bad.
like Florence Pugh?
I don't know. It might be, but what is with the
Ugh,
herky? I hate this herky jerky low frame rate animation shit. Because otherwise, it doesn't look bad. I just the herky jerkiness of it, like they did with Spider Verse and the Ninja Turtles.
That's exactly what I thought about too, Tom.
I agree with you,
with
Tom.
that
I agree.
Oh, I
animation
hate that.
style.
Yes, I agree with you.
I tell you about the monster.
Yes, but Teraphim, that's what makes okay. The reason it works in the first movie is because he has like automatic weapons and all these other things that could possibly kill the Predator already. And yes, he does beat him with primitive tactics, but that's kind of the point, right? Because the Predator's geared up and ready for that type of another kind of combat. And I get what you're saying, but it works in that sense. But just to me, it makes the Predator come off like a bully to go fighting like very primitive humans in a way. Like it just,
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, the point of the original movie was that Schwarzenegger, after watching his team get picked off one after another, is
Figured it
that
out. Yeah.
he figures out that if we do what this thing expects, it won't work. He already has the advantage. You have to do something he doesn't expect. And going, covering himself in mud to mask his thermal
Guerrilla
signature
warfare,
for
basically. Yeah.
basically guerrilla warfare. And that's, I mean, it's that there's a whole lot to that movie that you can unpack. But yeah, and by the way, I'm going to agree with all of you on this animation because I'm a fan of old school animation. This looks like the whole damn thing was animated on the twos. And if you don't know what that is, it means that
I
they
do.
drew one.
It's
They
worse
got
than
one.
that. It looks more like the fours.
Yeah, probably. It's great if you want to show rapid movement, but you should use it sparingly.
It's
They
like they're a
don't.
bunch of Hanna-Barbera rejects.
Yes.
Like they're not even good enough for Hanna-Barbera. Hanna-Barbera's like, this even looks bad. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And I believe they invented animating on the twos, if I remember right. But
Oh, they
anyhow.
know no, animating on the twos has been around for a long time.
Okay.
But it was not done for.
So have they.
Oh, yes, I know. But yeah, but the point is that it was used, specifically for a reason back in the old days. I mean, the classic era.
And it
And
became more of a primary practice during television, was my understanding. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, it's a cost saving measure. So it's cheaper. And that's why they do it now. It doesn't cost as much because you only have to draw half as many or a quarter as many images.
Yes,
so go ahead.
Exactly. No. But yeah, I know. I get what you're covering. I got the joke.
We must kill it, or it will kill us all.
Okay, so this looks more like it's an anthology series show kind of thing. I don't know, maybe if this is a video game. Okay, I don't know. I would say maybe more so if it was a video game, I might be interested in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It made me kind of sleepy, this trailer, when I saw it earlier. No, and I don't know who posted, and I wrote like snooze, and then like I had a bunch of people like responding, and they're like, "You just wrote that because you wanted to do bait." I'm like, no, I didn't even answer them, but it's like I didn't want to do bait. It bored me.
I've learned to pretty much not say shit about stuff I don't like anymore most of the time.
No,
Once in a
I have to
while,
say
I will,
shit about
but-
stuff I don't like.
I used to more
Fuck 'em.
often, but I've learned that all I do is just get in trouble.
You know what I love? I know this is off topic, but you know what I love? Recently, I've had a few videos, and somebody writes a comment in my video that if that person actually sat and watched the whole video, they'd understand that their comment doesn't even make any sense. But that way I know that like it's people that just see a thumbnail, write something and run away. And if they're not going to watch the video and address even what I'm saying about it, and they're going to expose themselves, then I have no respect for them.
Right.
I don't know. I had to just get that off my chest. Go on though.
No, it's fine. I'm just dealing with something here real quick. And then back to the super chats at hand. We got Bucky Cat who says off topic, but did you see where's the judge told Disney they had 20 days to turn over actor pay records to Gina's legal team? Yes, I talked about it a few places yesterday.
Yeah, yes.
I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow. I'm hoping to get somebody on who knows a thing or two about, a lawyer.
Just quickly, I'll say that this isn't necessarily a bad development, but what really matters is that they turn over all the correspondence and the internal emails. That when they get to that part, and a judge says you have to hand over all the emails, that'll be a significant win. This is pretty good, but it's not the same as the other one. You can only hope that this being good will be like kind of lay the groundwork for the bigger thing to happen.
Yeah, I've worked for a couple of companies that were subject to discovery in a legal fight, and they literally tell every employee, you are not allowed to delete any emails, even if they're unrelated, because if the other side decides that's germane to their case, they want that email. And the company is in trouble with the judge and with the court if they've deleted it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you, Price. It's when the legal team says we want the emails and all internal communications related to Twitter posts, let's say. Oh, that's when it's going to start to boil.
Right.
And I think it's low key until then. I agree with you.
That is what worries Disney the most. These kind of emails, maybe Kathleen Kennedy, Pablo Hidalgo, all those shills that are in their circles, all the people that were involved in those hit jobs on Gina. That's going to be the thing that's gonna make a difference to somebody. If they're like, we want all of like Pablo Hidalgo's emails, I think that like Disney are gonna really be scared at that point. But who knows? A lot of things can still happen, and I'm curious how it's all going to play out. But it's certainly interesting.
Well, and as we see here, this is what Gina posted yesterday. This is a small breath of fresh air. This long, arduous process. I am grateful to the court for moving so quickly. I look forward to the details of my case becoming public and clearing my name, which will allow me to continue doing what I love without such brutal discrimination. I remain incredibly grateful for this opportunity to defend myself against this Goliath. Thank you, Elon Musk and X. And yeah, so this is also off of fresh off the news that Disney had not turned over any of the discovery at all.
What a shock.
that they were told to, and they were then given till then they moved the case from September to February of next year. And so yeah, this is a small victory. This isn't a big victory. And unfortunately, without someone with some law knowledge to really kind of jump in and help us out with this here to kind of explain a little bit more of it, we're kind of left with just basically the explanation that you say here, Bucky Cat, is that, yeah, now Disney has 20 days to turn over pay records, which are just the amount that people are paid, and that's supposed to help them figure out how much she thinks she might have lost in the long run because of this. That's just a small victory, yeah.
The lawsuit is not solely focused on how much she lost per episode here. This isn't just like a workplace dispute about money. This is a much bigger dispute about freedom of speech and about discrimination. And I think that this is just a little thing that shows that her team is willing to fight tooth and nail. And Disney like had to concede this, and they're going to have to turn something over. But this isn't like the eureka moment. This is, even she says, it's a small breath of fresh air, whatever it is, and that's exactly what it is. And I want to say something that you keep saying, oh, like I wish we had a guy that knew about tariffs. Oh, I wish we knew a guy that knew about contracts. And you're in luck, Tom, because I actually am pretty knowledgeable about all that stuff. I just, I don't toot my horn all day, but I don't need anybody else to be on the stream with me because I pretty much know everything. And I'm
Well, this
here,
is less
so-
about the contract stuff right now than it is about how the court system works. And that's where I feel like it would be better if we had a lawyer. That's what I mean by that.
What happens? Okay, do we have any idea?
I think the lawyer can go. Lawyers can go fuck themselves. I'm here and I can answer questions.
Yeah,
I've done
what
it great.
happens if Disney does
Done it
it?
all stream. I did it great, and I do great every time. Just wanted to throw that out there.
No,
What
you're
hap-
fine. I just want to make sure that we're covered in case we have a question like whatever Nick is about to ask if we can't answer it, for instance.
Yeah, what happens if Disney doesn't turn over the records about the pay? Like, what happens? That's my one concern.
Well, then
about
I'm
this,
pretty
because
sure
it
they'll
seems
just get
like
a subpoena.
Disney is I feel like Disney is purposefully dragging ass so they're hoping that maybe if they exhaust Gina long enough that she'll eventually quit.
That is a
Obviously,
strategy.
I know she won't. She doesn't have it in her, but I do not put it past Disney to do that. That seems like something that they would absolutely do.
Disney has done that in the past. So, we could just point to past lawsuits against Disney, and they use the process as a punishment. They just string it out so long that somebody just has to give up. The problem they faced with Gina Carano is that her legal fight is being bankrolled by the world's richest man, and he wants her in this fight. Elon Musk is who I'm referring to, obviously. No, if Disney refuses to give this stuff over, then it becomes a contempt of court issue, as I understand it, and now you really need a lawyer to come in and talk about in a civil court what that means.
I don't think that they're going to do a contempt of court. I suspect that they're going to give whatever documents they need. But I also agree with you. According, like the way they see it, the longer they prolong this thing, the better it is for them. And if they can drown this and do 7 million continuances and make this go on for years, a lot of times, once so much time goes by since when the event happened, don't forget this was like in 2021, we're in 2025 now, the more time passes, a lot of times, it somehow benefits a company like Disney that they manage to waste more and more and more and more time. They're also probably at some point, if they haven't already, going to try to settle it. The question is if she's like, holding out and she just says, I don't care where the chips fall, I'm not going to settle over anything. That'll be interesting to see. I think that at some point, if not until now, they'll try to settle it. And they're wasting as much time as they can. They're playing for time. And I think we're just going to see more and more and more of this. This trial is going to last a long time. That's what I think.
And that I can see, right? Because that's Disney's MO.
I hate how the legal system's so rigged like this.
That's what
it's not a justice system. It's a legal system meant to help these people stay in their positions of power.
Well, and part of it is set up. Look, I get what you're saying, Nick, and I agree with you. But at the same time, part of this is set up so people don't bring just frivolous cases all the time against people too, right? It's set up in a way in a system to where, look, Disney's going to school the system and play the system as best they can, and they're within their right, and they're going to do that like they always do. But the problem is Gina has a Goliath standing behind her, and they know this. So they're going to push and they're going to try and do as much as they can, but I don't think they're going to be as frivolous as they would be in a normal situation with anybody else, because you're right, because under normal circumstances, they're just going to wait them out. They know they can't wait Elon Musk out. And Elon Musk already has his own vendetta against Disney and other problems, so Bob Iger specifically.
They can still stall, though. They can stall
all they want, but it's not going to change anything. I get what you're saying, and normally that would make a difference. And that's what this is all about here, is they're trying not to turn anything over. But yes, I agree they're going to turn over whatever they legally have to be turned over, and that's what they're trying to fight right now.
Every single thing that they're asked, they're going to make it difficult, and they're going to waste a lot of time and cause a lot of stink, and just, this is now just very fancy lawyers battling other very fancy lawyers, and they're going to drag things out, and they'll do a lot of these. It's almost like the actual trial and justice becomes secondary in a situation like this, and we're going to see a lot more nonsense like this. But I do believe that Disney are going to have to hand over once they lose something like this, even if it's a minor thing, they have to do it. I don't think that they're going to suddenly say we're not willing to do it. Maybe they can try to appeal that decision, but I think that would be dumb of them if they did.
This also, for the 900th time, because I don't know how this gets missed and continues to get buried, which is a very Disney-like thing to do, to continue to make things get buried. This has nothing to do with money. If that's just trying to convenient argument your way out of this. This is about trying to get Gina to restore her reputation and for exposing Disney. I guarantee you, I can't prove it, but if I could get inside Gina's mind via psychic powers, I don't even care if she wins this. This is about airing the dirty laundry of what happened with this company and what you get when you work for a company like this. This is about showing you how rotten to the core this company is. Win or lose is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the money. That's nothing more than a
and that's normally
argument.
what they would be fighting, right? And in other cases, they'd be like, look, how much is it going to take to make you go away? Well, then we'll negotiate that down and whatever tactics they want to use from there. But yes, you're right. You're all right in this situation. I'm just not sure. Go ahead.
There's another thing to mention about Discovery, which I've been told, and again, no, I'm not a lawyer, and you should grab one and put him on the show to talk about this. Discovery, one of the reasons companies fight Discovery as hard as they do is because it's practically unlimited. Once a judge has granted a motion for discovery in a lawsuit, they can ask for everything. The other side can ask for every record you've ever had. They can ask about what you sell park tickets for, what you actually paid to make this movie or whatever. I don't know of a limit, and again, a lawyer might be able to state that there are limits, but I've never heard of them. So the point is, the legal team for Gina right now has chosen a very narrow request for discovery, which may be to set the precedent if the judge grants this, and the judges did, and then told Disney, you have to produce this. It opens the door. And the point is that they can ask for anything after this, and there's a precedent that the judges decided that discovery is warranted. So the question of what can they ask for, I'm not sure there's a limit on it. Again, not a lawyer, didn't stay in a hotel, Holiday Inn Express last night. So, this is not legal advice in any way, shape, or form. But from what I know of lawsuits and have read about lawsuits, yeah, it's this is almost like testing the water and making sure the judge will grant something. And if the judge has just granted it, which is the big deal.
And I don't know if, Price, you know anything about that part of it, but I know you do have to leave here soon, so you can.
I do have to leave, so I will say goodbye to all of you, and it's been a pleasure hanging out. See you soon. Just another red shirt.
You got a show later on tonight, right?
11:45 p.m. The Night Owl on my live stream channel, which is Price of Reason Live, which you should subscribe to if you have a minute, of course. And of course, thanks for having me on as usual, Tom and Nick.
Right.
Go eat some beefaroni. I'll see you later.
Well, you enjoy your beefaroni.
Have fun at your dinner.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Well, yeah, the super chat target. He's orange.
Ooh. And with huge balls.
Lord Kamina 2 says with $5, there's so much good Predator lore in the books that they never use. The Predator in Prey could have been a young blood or a bad blood. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but yeah. Dark King says stalling the case costs Disney money for their own legal teams. They can't outspend Musk on this, so stalling counterproductive. This is basically what I was trying to say. Is that, yeah, in this case, I don't think they're going to drag it out like they normally would, because it doesn't benefit them any more than it benefits the other party. In this case, they're going to just not want to give over anything more than they have to, obviously. So that's why they haven't given over anything yet. They're going to make the court ask for specifics, obviously. So, and they're going to go one by one, probably, just to be a pain in the ass, is what I think. And with the Chinese business, K. Roberts, I thought this was kind of funny. Says with those tariffs, 10 Cent is going to have to change their name to $10. I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, other than that, we did have a small story here. Speaking of courts, the Blade Runner case is actually going through, I guess. Blade Runner suit against Tesla and Warner Brothers can proceed according to a federal judge's rule, but defendants succeed in narrow scope. A lawsuit by Blade Runner 2049 production company Alcon Entertainment against Tesla and Warner Brothers over the use of images from the film at promotional event can proceed. A federal judge has ruled. The scope of the complaint, however, is narrowed in a ruling late Monday by Judge George Wu.
Woo!
Woo! in the U.S. District Court of Central California. Read the ruling here. Wu sided with the defendants by Woo!
They should have read the woo link here.
Woo! Sided with the defendants by dismissing several of Alcon's claims and ordering the narrower complaint to the mediation. Still pending are Alcon's charge of copyright infringement, which stems from the use of images from sci-fi sequel starring Ryan Gosling to train AI tools involved in generating materials for Tesla. Alcon sued Warner Brothers and Tesla last October after the automaker's We Robot event at the Warner lot in Burbank, insisting that the companies had ignored its refusal of request to incorporate the film's visuals. Blade Runner 2049 and 2017 sequel to the 1928 classic, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. Alcon maintains that it refused a request from the studio to use images from the film. Attorneys for the company said executives have made it clear that under no circumstances could there be any affiliation between the film and the Elon Musk run automaker. The crux of the production firm's objection was massively amplified, highly politicized, capricious, and arbitrary behavior, which sometimes veers into hate speech. Oh, Jesus. Despite that directive, an 11-second slide appeared during Tesla's presentation with Musk specifically alluding to the sci-fi property in a voiceover. Tesla and Warner Brothers have insisted, as Woo noted in his ruling, that Alcon cannot show substantial similarity between its copyrighted work and the We Robot presentation or the 11-second slide used therein. Woo noted that the request for permission was made on the same day as the Tesla event, giving Alcon little time to respond. Given the tight time frame Musk and Tesla were working with in light of their last-minute request and the resulting last-minute denial, the make use of BR 2049, it is not all implausible for plaintiff to allege on information and belief that they made use of an AI image generator to come up with the finished product. Wu wrote. In addition, the images are not so different that the court can conclude Tesla and Musk could not possibly have literally copied in the manner so alleged. I don't even know where alert came from. Thus, each of Tesla. It's really small on my screen.
That's what she said.
I know. Now it's much bigger. Look at that.
Oh, you embiggen yourself. I like.
Use of an AI image generator to come up with the finished product. Woo wrote, in addition, the images are not so different that the court can conclude Tesla and Musk could not possibly have literally copied the manner so alleged. Thus, each of Tesla and Musk's timely raised limited arguments regarding the literal copying theory fail. Okay, so I don't understand any of that.
I didn't understand one word of that. I just heard Tesla, Blade Runner 2049, Elon Musk. Woo!
Yeah.
That was lawyer speak personified.
Pilgrim Media says, it's the dumb stuff I find fascinating. Woo! Woo!
That read like a terms of service contract.
It did. It was not what I was expecting it to be, but I know we covered it before on here. So yeah. Otherwise,
the gist I got from it is that the company that was mainly responsible for the Blade Runner sequel thinks that Elon Musk stole some of their IP to use to market one of his products. And
Which is funny because
you know,
Warner Brothers is part of it too, and Warner Brothers is a co-owner of Blade Runner, isn't it? Like, I'm confused. Or at
I
least
don't
they
know.
released it.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean
don't
they
know.
may have been the distributor, but I don't know. I don't know. That's one of those things when you have the 5 different companies involved in the production of a movie. I don't know what each one's role was based on the credits. I'd have
Yeah, and
to
I
dig into
Cthulhu is
that.
right. AI is technically public domain, but I do see the argument where they're saying that they used images to train it, and it doesn't help that they have the request that was refused, and they did it in such a short time. I can understand that. I kind of understand it more than I'm playing out here. I understand why the judge said this. There is a case here, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as Alcon Entertainment is trying to claim it
Well,
is.
this is like when I mean I've seen as I've been around on YouTube for about almost 5 years now. If a studio puts out a trailer and you show that trailer on your uh, in a live stream, I've watched live streams get shut down for copyright claims
Right.
because they showed the trailer more than once. And I'm like, it's marketing material, you idiots. What if I give out 3 of your marketing, promo sheets at a trade show because our product works with your product? Are you going to sue us for copyright? I mean, come on. So there's a certain amount of I think the idea that they just don't like his politics might be more than a little bit involved in this.
Obvious. It's in the answer there, right? Like, so that I think is,
Exactly.
I'm surprised they even let that through. I'm like, well, if
Yeah.
that's your only reasoning for this one, then what the fuck are you here for? Like,
Right.
because you
Yeah.
clearly didn't get any damages from this. Like, and
And that's
honestly, to
what's
me, it's more
weird.
of a Barbara Streisand effect. I didn't even know about it until the lawsuit was brought up.
And that's the weird thing is that, normally you have to, in order to have standing to sue somebody, you have to be able to show damage, some sort of damages, financial, reputational, what have you. But, the real gray area would be, if I take something you put on Midnight's Edge After Dark and put it into a video that I make. Not that I'm I'm not that I'm in any danger of being monetized anytime soon.
Well, no, but
Um,
I mean, I get what you're saying. It's
yeah,
about how it's transformative or not. If you're just like, we have people that have just taken our videos, downloaded them, re-uploaded them on their own channel, and they have like a whole channel full of our videos and other people's videos and stuff where they'll pretend to be us and stuff like that with a name similar to
right,
ours.
exactly. And that's where it winds up in court, and the lawyers are the ones who get rich,
You're right
basically.
there. And yeah, Corley and Rogan. I remember when this case first came up. It's funny you mentioned this because to prove this fact that he says they don't understand AI, they think that he fed it Blade Runner 2049 to make the images. You can generate those sort of images easily. Yes. In fact, I proved it by using like 2 or 3 different image generators and saying, "Give me this," and it looked close enough to like stuff from there that you could be like, "Oh yeah, whatever." So yeah, I think that's going to be the case. Is going to boil down to they have to prove that they did that. So
Yeah,
If that's the
and
case,
that it made a difference.
Assuming Crowley and Rogue is right that they don't understand AI, this is really just a nothing burger. This is just we need something to be mad about Elon Musk because he didn't vote the way we did.
yep. And there's one other small story that just came across here a little bit ago. This was before the show, just before the show. It looks like Robert Pattinson is being eyed for a Dune 3 role. Like I needed another reason to avoid part 3 now.
Oh, that is funny.
I thought the way I
yeah.
thought the yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they do it. They do Dune Messiah after what they did to Dune Part 2.
Exactly. That's my problem with this whole thing is like, how do you even, unless you change so many things that it's barely even Dune Messiah anymore, how do you make that now? Like, it just doesn't make it. I have a feeling that they're going to turn around and make Anya Taylor-Joy's character I just forgot her name, the sister, Aaliyah, right? Is that how you say it? Yeah.
I
I
have
have a
Aaliyah,
feeling they're
yeah.
gonna, yeah. See, because in the book, I'm not gonna get too spoilery, but she kind of has a bit of a villain turn, and it's not. It's kind of more of like an Anakin Skywalker villain turn. At first, she's trying to do things because she thinks her brother would do them a certain way, but then the power just kind of goes to her head and other things like that. That's the short version. I know there's more to it, but I bet you $5 she's no longer has like a villain turn. You want to make a bet? Anybody?
No.
No.
I'd rather
But
bet against myself at craps in Vegas.
Right? But who the fuck is he going to play? I don't know. Let's see if it says here. Legendary had no comment. Doesn't really say. So yeah. The only other thing people were talking about with this, and this is the only reason I really brought this up, because people are starting to question now, when is he going to have time to shoot the Batman? And even Pattinson himself has said that, I want to get this done before I'm old Batman. Right?
Wow.
And unless they are actually shooting in the next few months, like we've been hearing, I don't know how accurate that is, because last I knew, the script wasn't even done.
So in a decade, we got the Dark Knight trilogy, and then since they announced they were making this movie and scrapping what was supposed to be the original Affleck Batman, we announced the Pattinson one. So it was 2018, I think, when they got a greenlit to do this version. 2018, and we're in 2025, and for sure it's not coming out next year. It may come out at the end of 2027, maybe ... Within the sum of a decade, we will have had maybe 2 films. Keyword maybe. For sure, only one, because it's past tense, obviously.
Cyberchud, I honestly don't know if they can cast Pedro Pascal, because since Zendaya's already in the movie, it might make something explode.
It's critical mass.
It's critical mass. Like, you got too much going on here at once. Like, that's too many variables for the machine to deal with.
Yeah. Don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams. Could be bad.
I'm a little unclear on this whole good bad thing.
Yeah, that's bad. Thanks for clearing that up.
Oh man, that's good.
But no, honestly, I don't have a real personal problem with Pattinson being in the movie per se. I honestly could give 0 fucks. That last half of Dune 2 turned me off so bad.
Really? Was it? I never saw this movie. So was it really that? Was it bad? Was it divisive? A little bit of both?
Not really, because most people ate it up and enjoyed it, but a lot of these, and even people who are fans of the book enjoyed it. So I can't say it totally failed. Yeah. But most of those people at least acknowledge that, yes, once it deviates from the book, because the first movie leading into the second film, like the first half of the second film, is almost the book verbatim, right?
Yes.
Then all of a sudden it takes this complete left turn and completely destroys Chani's character. Otherwise, Timothée Chalamet knocks it out of the fucking park. It's her. It's all her. And the choices they made with her and the way that she acts and reacts to everything. That is what destroyed it. And then how they leave the film. Because not only that, there's another important event that doesn't happen in the movie that's supposed to happen. That hasn't happened yet, which also leads me to believe that Anya is going to be changed, or Leah, sorry, not the Anya Taylor-Joy character, is going to be changed later than what she was in the book, because she was supposed to be born in this movie and she wasn't even born yet.
Right.
So, there's a lot of stuff they screwed up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, they deviated. This is the thing. They deviated from the book, from everything I've heard. I didn't even bother to watch Dune 2. But everybody has told me who are fan, and I was not a huge fan of Dune as a book. I never read the rest of them. I just thought it was overblown and pompous and all that, and gave up. Now, that said, as somebody who was reading virtually nothing but science fiction back when that was a book you found in bookstores, Okay, they decided not to follow the book. All right, well, that's something movie makers sometimes, that's a decision sometimes they make when they're working with source material. But if you leave the source material behind and go in a new direction, you damn well better know what you're doing. So the fact that they're doing the next movie basically supposedly based on the second book in the series, it's like, well, you already abandoned the series. Why are you now going to,
Yeah.
claim you're following the series? Stick with the story you decided to tell and tell it from there. That really is what doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's my
So,
problem I have now, because you've been so faithful up to a point, right?
right.
And then all of a sudden you deviate, and then now I'm going, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you may have a plan, but I'm going to be asking you the entire third film now why you did this. Why did you do that?
Yes.
Why did you do this instead? Instead of me just enjoying it for what it should be, because that's the beauty of Dune. Sure, a lot of people are kind of familiar with what the first story is because they've seen the Lynch film if they haven't read the book. But beyond that, they don't usually know. And it does get to be an interesting story. It is kind of a Star Wars epic style story with, fathers and sons and daughters and everything like that. You could tell when you get into the latter book, the second book actually, or whatever you want to call it, that obviously George took some inspiration from it's pretty obvious. So like, yeah, I could see it be a really, I was hoping it was going to be really epic and good. It clicked with the audience. I'm just upset that it was good up to a point and then it just completely went off the rails. And from what I've heard of that TV series too, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, and not only that, they've completely they haven't told us shit about the Mentats or the Spacing Guild, right? Like, and when they did such a better job in the sci-fi series, as far as I'm concerned, and covered more in the time that they've already had now, in the same amount of time, it just doesn't make no sense to me. It's just, yeah. Anyhow,
I
we'll
think
see.
I think the way I'd summarize it is they've painted themselves into a corner and they're trying to figure a way out with the movies.
That, or I think Villeneuve did actually have a plan going in, but his plan's 4 or 5 years old, and that's probably why it's so fucking woke.
Yeah.
Or at least
And he wanted to film,
woke.
he wanted to do a Peter Jackson and film both parts of Dune, Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2 at one time, and was vetoed. The studio wouldn't pay for it. So they had to come back. Yeah, I do too. Because the Peter Jackson filming all of the Lord of the Rings at one time in New Zealand was brilliant because it guaranteed that his characters would remain consistent across the films.
Right.
Dune didn't do that, and it wasn't Villeneuve's decision. He wanted to do that.
I can't.
I think
I can't.
the studio has screwed. I think the studio is what's screwing this series up. Personally,
well,
that's
it could
my
be
that's my
between
take.
Legendary and Warner Brothers. You could be right on that, because Warner Brothers, for some reason, has done this twice now. If that's the case, where they should know better, because they now own New Line, the company that did that with Lord of the Rings, and how well that worked out for them. And when it came to it and this, they've done that now, where they should have filmed both parts at the same time, yet you decided not to. Like, I don't see how you didn't see that was a cost-saving measure, whether you knew you were going to release it one way or the other or not. It's like, even if Dune was a flop of sorts, which it wasn't. I mean, it did very well during COVID in theaters. The first one did, and the second one did gangbusters. So, like, I bet you they're kicking themselves now, wishing they had. But they're still just going into film part 3, and I don't know if there's going to, I know there's supposed to be a part 4 maybe, or whatever beyond that, but I don't know how much Villeneuve is going to be involved in that, or just producing, or what. But anyway, Imaginative Hobbyist says that Pattinson was considered for Paul back in the day. I'm glad he wasn't.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could see him more as Fade than I could Paul. But anyhow, Fade Routha, or however you say his name. Soul Nightmare says, I can live without the Batman Part 2, so could I. But I don't want another insufferable cult. Dune on top of the Odyssey, Farrell circling Sergeant Rock. There's no writing on the wall, but there's fuzzy outline. Yeah, it's getting to the point where I'm starting to think that the Batman 2 may not materialize. But we'll see. I'm less convinced than I used to be, but
Which has a
Dark
better
King-
chance of coming out, Tom? The Batman 2 or the Soy Cheese sequel?
since Soy
What?
Chi is actually going to be in Avengers Endgame, I would put money on Soy Chi.
You're actually gonna put more money. You
I
put
would put
more
more
money
money
on
on-
Soy
no,
Cheese
I'm kidding.
sequel.
Actually, no. I think they're determined to get this Batman 2 done and out of the way.
And
the only
even if
reason I
it
think
comes
that-
out, what's it gonna be another 7 years before the third one comes out?
There is going to be no third. I think this is it. I honestly think this is it. When I think that when Matt Reeves was talking about doing a trilogy, I think that's what he meant as the Batman, the Penguin, and then the Batman Part 2 is the trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Because even if he does manage to get it done and out by 2027, he will still beat the other Batman, Brave and the Bold, by at least a year or better.
That's true. That is very true. So
Which is
his
the only
movie
reason
will-
I think it's still happening. But yeah,
Wow. So it's like they just need to have a Batman movie out. Doesn't matter which one they're
I
at.
think that's what it kind of is at that
Where
point. They
they're
just want
kinda
a
like-
Batman movie out so they can just
Something
cash in
is
on
better
Batman.
than nothing is where they're at with Batman. Wow, that's
And
sad.
if Reeves actually manages to keep the budget down and the movie manages to make about as much as the last one, then they'll probably be happy.
Yeah, look how well that worked for Disney.
The Batman 2 actually has more of a chance of doing what I just said. I mean,
Oh, that's true. That is-
prior to
Oh, I
the
know.
Penguin happening, like I wasn't so sure what was going down because I kept hearing that show was going to determine, and it seems to be that's the case because as soon as that show was a hit, that's when it seemed like the Batman 2 shit started going into high gear all of a sudden. And last we knew, they didn't have a script done yet, but they're writing it. But I've also heard some rumors now that it was turned in recently, but nobody has confirmed that. So anyway, Dark King says with an Australian $2, cast Zendaya, Zegler, and Pascal in the Black Hole 2 and just make sure they stay there.
I like how you threw that in there and just make sure they stay there.
The Black Hole takes everything and it never gives back.
Oh man, that's so
What are you
freaking
willing
funny.
to sacrifice? The Black Hole 2.
A big black
Even
hole.
blacker.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, wait. I needed some like kabooms. All that stuff. It's just not the same. Like the, like Black Hole 2. Even blacker. Any of those work. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I got a whole bunch of them. Coming soon. Can I redo that trailer voice in Jive? Like, how do you want me to do it in Jive? Like, what? I need a movie to do. Like that movie specifically. Let's see here. Zendaya, Zegler, and Pascal done fucked shit up. So now, we gonna fuck them up. Black Hole 2. Leave them there.
Oh, that's good.
In a world where worlds don't exist, things happen and nobody knows why.
Things happen. No one knows. Man, you just sound like you're summing up a modern Hollywood production.
It's
It
pretty
sounds
much
like
all of
Steve.
them.
It sounds like Steven Seagal's next movie.
If he can just get off the chair, then maybe we have a chance.
Oh man,
Those
that's
terrorists
good.
are gonna go down as soon as I can get out of this chair. Oh my God. Steven Seagal is John Thick. Rated R. Thank you, Dark King.
Oh boy. Woo, damn.
Oh shit. Come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. Do the Frankenfurter. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Pilgrim Media. I see you shiver with anticipation. There you go. Hopefully that did it justice. If not, there is always, of course.
Stop eating my sesame cake. Stop eating my sesame cake! Mm-hmm.
Why are you here? I've seen that movie a couple times. Congo. All right, kids. I want to thank Red Shirt for popping in here. Of course, Price for being here earlier. Nick, you got a show coming up here in just a little bit, don't you?
Oh yeah, Talk to Tuesday, 40 minutes, talking Jet Li's Hero. It's gonna be huge. I want you all to come and hang out. It's gonna be diabolical. You'll see Red Shirt, who's on the panel here. He's gonna be a part of that as well. It's gonna be great. Come hang out. And yeah, Clubby's Comic Shop will be back on Friday night. And me and Mark D will talk the 8th episode of Born Again tomorrow. We'll see if it's any good.
Is it boring again?
Dude, it is the definition of up and down, up and down. When it shines, it is like that one crappy pop song that talks about shining like a diamond, wherever they're saying that shit. But then when it sinks, man, you feel like you're going down the toilet once it sinks.
All right. Well, check that out then in just a little bit here. Red Shirt, you're going to be there. Anything else to plug besides that?
No, not at this point. I'm going to put a link in the chat here to.
I was just
Toxic
gonna
Tuesday.
gonna link it to the.
Ooh, you're gonna help people cross the streams for them.
Yeah. So
That's
don't be
thoughtful.
late, motherfucker.
That's so thoughtful. You are looking out for people in their streams.
I do my
Indeed.
best.
You both do
Predator
your
stalks
best.
Congo apes. Now I would watch that.
Yeah.
Those Congo apes would fuck a predator up.
Yeah, they would. It wouldn't even be close.
I seen them. They bad apes. Bad ape. Bad ape.
Bad ape. Bad ape.
Amy sad.
Yeah.
Accident Seller. How you doing, buddy? Sends in 15 Norwegian Krona. Tom, who did the trailer voice for Hour of the Gun 67 trailer? I can't quite place him. Wyatt Earp, hero with a... It's supposed to go, Wyatt Earp, hero with a badge, or cold-blooded killer. Let me see. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can listen to that real quick and see if I can pick out the voice. I know a few of the guys. If not, maybe it's a Google away. Let's see here. Hour of the Gun. Let's see here. Yeah. Stupid ad.
Wyatt Earp, hero with a badge, or cold-blooded killer.
I don't really recognize that voice.
Wyatt Earp lived through the gunfight at the OK Corral. That may have been a mistake.
Actually,
You're under arrest. For what? Murder.
Tom McLaury threw back his coat lapel to show that he was unarmed. And that's when the Earps and Holiday opened fire.
You did that deliberately.
Wyatt Earp, hero with a badge, or cold-blooded killer.
If I gave you a posse of 25 men, you think you might possibly find Earp? And maybe even arrest?
It's not ringing a bell, but it kind of sounds familiar. I'm trying to place it. Somebody in the chat knows.
You couldn't get a conviction in a federal court or a local one, and you never intended to try. And those aren't warrants you got there. Those are hunting licenses.
I'm on a count. 1, 2, 3. You can draw on 2. I'll wait till 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wyatt Earp. Did he rescue the West or use it as a private shooting gallery?
I need Wyatt Earp dead and cold.
Go on, have one. If you're gonna kill like me, you might as well drink like me. James Garner as Wyatt Earp. Jason Robards as Doc Holliday. Robert Ryan as Ike Clanton. Most legends of Wyatt Earp end with the gunfight at the OK Corral. Our story begins there.
I don't know, but I want to see this movie now. It might be Paul Frees, but I don't think so. It's a guy it's got to be an older one because I don't recognize it offhand, but it does kind of sound familiar-ish. But I'm thinking it's an actor. But I'm not 100% sure. But if I can figure it out, I will definitely. Go ahead.
I mean, I could hear several different actors managing to do that voice.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would take the credits to settle it because I wouldn't.
And a lot of time they don't credit a trailer voice actor usually.
Exactly. So that's
and unless
gonna
it's
be
like
a tough
Percy
one to
or
solve.
certain ones that I know, like I'm kind of like. But if anybody recognizes it, please let us know, even if it's later on to help us out. That'd be great. But sorry, I couldn't answer that better than that. Usually I'm pretty good with them. Because I can generally tell, like, if it's LaFontaine or Percy or those guys. But no, that one didn't stick out directly. I think it's actually an actor, though. I think you're right, red shirt. I think that's... Yeah. Yeah, because LaFontaine would have been way too young. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the ones I know would have probably been too young back then. So that's a stumper for me. That's a stumper. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, was there anything you plugged everything, right, red shirt? That you had
I'm all set.
All right. Sadie's telling me it's time to go, so it's time to go. All right, kids. Take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks again. See you next.
Cute kitty.
Available now for the first time ever on DVD from Midnight's Edge After Dark Productions. It's My Two Dads, the complete first season starring Mexican Iron Man Tom Connors and Culture Casino. Available now for $19.99 while supplies last.